What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today I promised I wouldn't make another Highguard video. Reason being, they had a year-long roadmap. I thought this game's gonna at least get some consistent service and updates, and maybe more people will trickle in, the game will get better, and, I'll probably make a video about this game at the end of its live service, or at least at the end of that year-long roadmap they had. Well, folks, it is the end. It is the end. Highguard is permanently shutting down on March 12th. So, for those of you keeping track, Highguard lasted about 45 days, so a month and a half, versus Concord, which was a week and a half. Why does this keep happening? It boggles the mind how so much time, money, and effort can be put into these products, and then they just die, just completely die, pull the plug. I feel like I need to make a separate video, why do games keep flopping, on the main channel, to help try to explain this. That's more broad. Today we're honing in on Highguard, why it failed, how shocking this is, and what we can all learn from this. Because it just appears like nobody learned anything from Highguard. Concord. I'm mixing them up already. Nobody learned anything from Concord. And so maybe making this video, we can kind of hammer in the lessons so that this doesn't happen in the future and people don't waste their time on, making something that just is going to be shut down in a month and a half. Ironically enough, on January 5th, someone posted a fake end of service letter on the Highguard subreddit 3 weeks before the game released. It estimated the shutdown date in June. Game didn't even make it as far as people joking about its demise would. Also, if you pause the video and read this, this sounds like a real post. It doesn't look AI generated, the text is all good. But yes, this is their official statement here. Today we're sharing difficult news. We have made the decision to permanently shut down Highguard on March 12th. Since launch, more than 2 million players stepped into Highguard's world. You shared feedback, created content, and many believed in what we were building. For that, we are deeply grateful. Just as a side note, okay? When talking about multiplayer games, there's not a whole lot of expectations of storytelling or world building. And this is a huge point why I think Arc Raiders is so compelling, is because the world is very interesting, the environments tell a story, as do your adventures through it. Where do the Raiders hold up? In a place called Speranza. Locations have names, but for Highguard, even the developers don't have a name for it. What was the world that Highguard took place in? Was it just Highguard? Is that what it was? Part of the reason this game failed is because you number one, came up with a monetization system, free to play, and you're selling skins for characters. You have to sell people on those characters. People have to feel like their identity is represented in this character, in this play style. Otherwise, why would you play them? I mean, you look at Overwatch for comparison. Reason why people loved Overwatch? A lot of it had to do with the trailers, with the excellent Blizzard cutscenes and cinematics that sold us on a universe, and this cast of characters and heroes and villains, and how they interacted with each other. There was personality and charm. When you don't even have a name for your world, you haven't even thought about it that much. It's just, how do you expect people to buy into this? That was problem number one, why the game failed. Problem number two is it's a brand new IP, free to play. You're buying skins, and then the game is shown off at the Game Awards, and it just completely disappears into the void. Where did Highguard go? I was interested in this. They had a generic trailer that didn't really explain anything about the game or what it is. It's brand new. So just your average gamer obviously was going to be confused by this bizarre marketing tactic. There was nothing compelling, no reason why we're storming bases with the shield breaker and calling in these giant rams. There was nothing. Also, more than 2 million players. So people might give Jeff Keighley shit for promoting this game. And yeah, he may have some financial ties to Tencent. So it is a little shady, if I'm going to be completely honest. However, had Jeff not promoted the game, this game would have died just as fast as Concord. That's the only difference. 2 million players stepped into the game, and yet 2 million players, nearly 2 million players, stepped out. They didn't find it compelling. So Jeff does not really deserve any blame for the game's failure. If anything, he made it last an extra 2 to 3 weeks. Because the ratio of 99.9% player drop-off, it doesn't matter if how many players you have. That ratio would have been the same, whether it was 10 million, 100,000, or 100 million. Despite the passion and hard work of our team, we have not been able to build a sustainable player base to support the game long term. Servers will remain online until March 12th. We hope you'll jump in with us one more time to show your support and get those final great matches in while we still can. The team is excited to release one final game update to enjoy in the remaining life of the game. We'll be adding a new warden, a new weapon, account level progression, and skill trees. Full patch notes are coming, and we're targeting tonight or tomorrow morning for patch releases. So maybe later on, we'll hop in real quick just to see what the menus look like. From all of us at Wildlife, thank you for playing, for supporting us, and for being part of Highguard's story. Where to start, man? What was Highguard's story?
A game given the largest stage in the industry and failing within 2 months to build a sustainable player base.
I guess at least the game was free, right? And they didn't have to issue mass refunds to everyone like they did with Concord. But what if you were one of those people who believed in the game and you paid for the skin and now you're just like, now you're fucked? Granted, I don't think many people bought Highguard tokens or Highguard coins, whatever it was. But here's where I get so confused, because it seemed like the plan was to shadow drop the game and then slowly build it up over time, right? Like they did with Apex Legends. Except Tencent pulled the funding and they weren't making enough money. So like the game plan from the start, this shadow drop was bad off the rip. And this is another reason number 3 why the game failed. It just wasn't complete at launch. Okay, you're adding a new warden, a new weapon, account level progression. Account level progression, that's industry standard, man. Those of you that watched the COD 4 review on my main channel, like that was a big revolution. And now, ever since then, just people expect in first-person shooters to level up. And skill trees? Why weren't there skill trees at launch? You see, I don't know if these things would have made a huge difference, but it would have been something. I think maybe with account level progression, just the idea of building up something, that's investment. That's how you show player investment. And when you don't have something like that in a live service experience, then people are gonna go someplace else that rewards their time more. I think that it really is the main point. There was nothing to invest in with Highguard. You think about, oh, if you're a pro player, yeah, the game was competitive, but it's like, who are you streaming Highguard to? Are there going to be any tournaments? Nope, no funding for that. If you like, interesting new worlds, there was no story to be told here. If you were someone looking for a new live service to invest your time in and max out a character, level up or whatever, you couldn't do that. Releasing a progression system and skill trees, like when the game is already gonna die, it's... What I find so bizarre though, is that they didn't even entertain the thought that this game could be salvaged in some way or another. Tencent or whoever just gave up on it. Now, we gotta check in with Jeff Keighley, because I can't imagine he's taking this news all the best. Guys, I'm worried about him. Nothing even matters now. The Game Awards are canceled. We get it, you like the game. He's been playing for 17 hours. Good job, Spooky. The thing is, the type of content listed in this update is substantial. This is a solid amount of content for a live service update. You could argue that a lot of the stuff should have been there at launch, but this shows that they were at least prepared with something right out the gate. They had a year-long roadmap planned out, and I think this just goes to show that roadmaps are always subject to change, but more than that, it doesn't take a huge budget to create a graphic that promises a lot of features and updates in the future. You can always figure that out later on, right? Jeff Keighley posted, Highguard will go offline on March 12th. And what I said, this must feel like losing a son for you. I'm sorry for your loss. Live service games have the lifespan of a disposable vape now. The future of gaming, huh? We will be accepting your apology, Jeff. Fantastic Concord 2 art there. Before the game came out, he said, in 48 hours, I'll be accepting your apologies. And I think we are the ones who deserve an apology. But not really. Now here's the thing, to talk about the toxic gaming discourse once more, I don't agree with people celebrating this game's failure, because I feel like overall it's bad for the industry when games fail. Does that mean it's off limits and we can't make fun of it? No, of course not. Of course, we can make fun of anything on here. But like, if we're looking at the big picture, in an industry where layoffs and studio shutdowns are so common, and it just seems like the same mistakes are being made, where companies are putting hundreds of millions of dollars into these speculative projects, you know, it's like, and then they're failing, and all these people who worked on it, who put their heart and soul into it, are laid off, fired, you know, the more that this happens in the industry, the less confident people are. In terms of like future projects down the line, did Highguard deserve to fail? No. Was it destined to fail? Yes. While there's always going to be toxic bad actors in the gaming community, I think the bottom line is that gamers decide what games flop and which ones don't. At least for the most part, that's the case. Sometimes publishers decide when a game fails. I recently saw, side note, Battlefield 6 was the best-selling game in the US in 2025, and DICE has been hit with layoffs. So in an ideal world, the consumer, the customer would decide if a game is worthy of succeeding or not. Highguard was not a terrible game. It was just something that, it was a niche that is already being filled by multiple other games that people have already invested in. And so in order to stand out, you have to take things to the next level. You have to take things in a different direction. There was genuine promise with the whole base building. And to point this out, the idea of being able to choose what base you have in each map, both teams can do that. That's really cool. Imagine if you were playing on Blood Gulch in Halo 2 and you could decide what structure your base was and where the flag was. That's really cool. But they really didn't take things far enough. They played it too safe, and there's like no first-person shooters where the goal is to destroy someone's base. I love real-time strategies, and Renegade X is just like that. There's no games out there quite like it. So Highguard had it push that concept of base building, base destruction, you know, maybe taking some inspiration from Deadlock a little bit. Things could have been different. This could have been a game that people might have stuck with. You know, it's not like Highguard was part of some pre-established franchise that's beloved and it completely shit the bed, you know? So there's no reason in my mind to hate Highguard. And while it's easy to, you know, crack jokes about Concord too, I think at the end of the day, like, somebody has to learn a lesson from all this, you know? We got some insight from the studio head and game director of Highguard, who said, "We had slightly over 2 million players worldwide try the game. I would like to thank all of you for giving it a try. Given all of the backlash between announce and launch day, trying the game for yourself is all I could have asked for. Thanks to our players." That's a good statement. Average session duration was 91 minutes. This is actually quite good. Means that on average, a player logged into Highguard and played for 91 minutes. That lines up with what I did, because the first time I played it, yeah, I played it for maybe 2 hours. But you know what I didn't do was boot it up again. That's the unfortunate part, is that at the end of my play session, I was like, well, I had fun, but I didn't really feel like I accomplished anything or that I'm building to anything. PS5 was the biggest player base, then Xbox, and then Steam. So there's some interesting numbers and details of the game in here. Okay, here are some numbers for you. 8 days. One live service game shut down in 8 days. Players do speedruns, so do games. The Culling 2 sits with the world record at 8 days. Concord at 14, Highguard 45. Somehow, the day before is at 46. That lasted 46 days, which is just mind-blowing to me. Now, another important thing, the Highguard director confirmed that the game released without content because they ran out of time and money. When you're out of time and money, you have to release a game with the runway you have available and hope players will stick with you post-launch. So one has to wonder, where did all that money and time go? Because I feel like designing a scoreboard, for example, that really doesn't take a lot of time, or it shouldn't. The reason I keep talking about scoreboards in these games is because although it is such a minor feature, that's exactly it. It is such a minor feature that if something like that, just a basic industry standard quality of life feature, is not present in the game, I don't know about you, but that just pisses me off. I'm like, am I doing good or am I sucking ass? Like, I need to know how I'm playing. Otherwise, so I can make informed decisions about how to change my playstyle. Maybe it's the hero I'm playing. Maybe I don't understand the mechanics. Maybe it's the weapons I'm picking. Also, another thing to point out is that the landscape of each map was just completely empty and barren. You know, there's no PvE. Again, Arc Raiders has PvP and PvE. This game only had PvP. So you really just ran around an empty map with nothing going on, just whacking stones with an axe and opening chests and stuff. stuff. You know, it's hardly exhilarating stuff, but it was a type of resource gathering that you see in real-time strategy games. So again, one has to wonder, why didn't you take that RTS style and go with it? So I have to believe that if they ran out of time and money, then that time and money was focused on the wrong things. Clearly. I think, conceptually, had there been creeps, monsters to fight and level up, like, you have to give players reasons to explore the map and make decisions. Does somebody stay behind at the base and fortify it? If that's their playstyle, they should. Do they want to go out and just fight other creeps and mine resources and power scale? Sure. Do they want to immediately fight other players? Yeah. The game has to encourage all these different playstyles, and it didn't really do that. Highguard devs say they're confident in the game, but that they didn't expect the hate. Lead game designer said the belief came from the fact they had, quote, a game that you couldn't find anywhere else, so we felt very confident in that. I don't know how you come to this conclusion, especially when Highguard is a synonym for Overwatch. I don't think there would have been much hate for Highguard if it wasn't shown at the end of the Game Awards, if it wasn't built up as this, you know, next-gen revolutionary experience that's gonna change the landscape of gaming for the next 1,000 years. But it was built up. It was put in a position that it wasn't designed for or designed to be marketed in. So people's expectations for the final reveal of the Game Awards were, it was a sour note to end what was otherwise a very awesome presentation and award ceremony. But I don't know where this confidence comes from that there was no other game like Highguard. Like I said, the only things that were special about it was like the base building, maybe the horses and the mounted and infantry combat, maybe, but not only could you find a game like Highguard, you could find better Highguards out there. Just because your game is free to play doesn't mean a player base is going to stick around. Arc Raiders might be $40, but I think it shows that people are willing to pay money for a complete product. Once the industry kind of went away from, you know, making a product that people want to pay for, I think it really lowered the overall standard of quality and like standard of content. Like the minimum viable product has gotten to a point where it's considered to be so low that something like Highguard could release and that they could somehow be confident in it. It's not going to cut it in this industry because you're in the hero shooter genre, the shooter genre, and you gotta tell people what the fuck your game is about and what makes it different or special, you know? I feel like when Bungie did those old VIDE docs for Halo 2 and Halo 3, and, you know, that was the first time I really felt like I got the perspective of the people who designed this game that I love. And you gotta sell people on that vision. Don't just play some random generic trailer that, you know, for people's first impressions, and they don't know what the fuck this game is, this world, or who these characters are. Like, sell us on your vision, and don't do it in a corporate way where it's like, oh, and this game is just so great, everything about it is perfect. You know, tell me about the struggles involved in making it. What worked, what didn't work? Why do you feel so confident? Explain yourself. Another problem was that they kind of gave off this, we're an independent studio vibe, producing a AAA game, and yet they were secretly backed by Tencent, and now Tencent has pulled the funding. So it's almost like an out-of-touch CEO or corporate dude was like,
indie and AA games are doing a lot better than AAA. Well, what if we take our AAA game and pretend like it's being made by an indie studio? That'll work, right?
Nope, didn't. So what can be learned from Highguard's failure? Well, to be honest, I'm still surprised that they didn't bother to stick with it. This article from PC Gamer. Rip Highguard. In a better world, an FPS is allowed to be unpopular. Highguard was not a dead game, it's being murdered. It didn't just die, it was murdered. Oh god, they're bringing that back. Murdered by who? I think it was destined to fail. It wasn't murdered, it wasn't the negativity of gamers that caused people to not be interested in this. 100,000 people played this day one, and by day two, it was 39,000. Day 3, 19,000. Within a week, the game had dropped below 5 digits. So it wasn't murdered. People made fun of it because it was shown off at the last spot in the Game Awards, but it didn't die because of that. It died because it wasn't a game that was compelling. It didn't have a good sales pitch. There wasn't any reason for players to invest in it based on what else is out there right now. It's a very competitive market, and this was not a game you couldn't find anywhere else. It was a game that had been made 2 years ago and failed. Now we're gonna quickly hop one last time into Highguard. We're gonna pay our respects. Ah, time to pay my respects. A ranked mode is now available. Forge your legacy for the next, maybe one day. This video is probably going to come out the day before. I didn't even plan that one. Raid mode. You gotta play raid mode to unlock ranked. I mean, yeah, it's... let me know in the comments if you played a ranked game of Highguard. I can't imagine there's enough players for that. Stats! They added this, they added stats. Look, you can see my Highguard stats. Incredible. I won 5 games. It doesn't tell me how many games I lost, though. Again, tell me if I suck or not. Yeah, see, KDA ratio. Show me my deaths, too, or how many assists I had. So even this is, like, not the best stat system. Should I buy the war chest? What about Highguard gold? Warden credits. Can I check the... Oh, this is the new hero. You can see there's a slot for another one. I mean, not a terrible design. Deploy a shield, protect any friendly orbs around you from destruction. Yeah, I mean, there's just... It does kind of suck that, like, all this is going to waste, you know? I mean, the quality of this art is... It's not bad. They had some talented artists, for sure. You could have sold some of these mounts, too, you know what I mean? Like giant owl bear thing? To answer your question, no, I am not going to play a match of Highguard. Regrettably. But I wanted to at least see for myself what they had added, and a stat screen, progression, account level, a new hero, new weapon. Well, it is what it is. So what did we learn today? What did we learn? I think it's safe to say Highguard failed and flopped for a variety of reasons. But it really just comes down to releasing a product that doesn't resonate with gamers, with customers. It doesn't inspire any vote of confidence, especially when you are revealed at the Game Awards and then you go radio silent. You don't even take that opportunity. You still stick with the, like, shadow drop angle. Number one, like, figure out how you're gonna market this, especially if it's a brand new IP. Like, how are you gonna sell this to people? How are you gonna get them invested? Number two, live service free-to-play hero shooter. Maybe just avoid that genre altogether, I think. And number three, timing. You gotta put your best foot forward first, especially if it's a new IP and you're revealing this on the world's biggest stage in gaming, right? Put your best foot forward, sell people on this game, tell them what it's about, inspire confidence. While it seems the developers were confident in the product, after showing it, gamers were not. Maybe don't try to trick people into thinking you're an independent studio when you're secretly taking money from a massive publisher. Overall, people's expectations were just all over the place, and nobody thought this game would succeed because it didn't give us any reason to think it would. Ultimately, the customers are the voice of what fails and what doesn't, and what succeeds. RIP to Highguard, we knew ye well. I'll see you in a year and a half, 2 years for Concord 3, and we'll see if this industry is able to learn anything from these repeated mistakes. What do you think? Did you play the ranked mode in Highguard? What level did you get to? Probably 0. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to Actman TV for more awesome content. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Godman signing out. Peace!